Okay, so you had to start by creating the conditional. How many of us, well, who thinks they did the conditional correctly? All right, Mazzaro, tell me what you got.
I said,
Hush, we're listening to Mazzaro.
if bats are animals, then they can fly.
If an animal is a bat, then it can fly. But good, take a point. All right, so if an animal is a bat, then it can fly. Did she tell you the wrong thing?
Yes.
Maybe you should do your own work.
No, she yelled at me.
Life lesson.
She was
Everybody yells at you.
Okay, do we see why it is this way? Did anybody get it correct?
No.
Nope. 2 people in the whole class? 3?
Better than nothing.
Oh,
What happened? Wait, what the ham sandwich? What happened? Boy, why is your homework not done? Why is your homework? I have been with you since 7 o'clock this morning.
That's what we had to do.
Okay, Taylor, tell me what happened before. Did you do it? Did you get it right?
I said,
Well, does yours match mine?
No.
What did you put?
I said, if they are bats, they can fly.
Okay, well that's close, but do you see how it has the word animal in there? So we have to include that. So if an animal is a bat, then it can fly.
I put pea.
Something to that effect. Kind of get there. You were close. I wouldn't have counted it wrong. Just to that's fine. I'm not going to count it wrong. I'm just saying to perfect it, I want you to have the animal in there. Yes. We're not there yet. Okay. Does anybody? Did we not do our homework? Is that what this is? Stop that right now. Girl, you wrote it down and then wrote it on. You wrote it on your green paper, then wrote it down.
Go back to Wales.
Try it. One more time, I'm gonna take off points.
yes, take
No.
All right, the converse, you flip it around, right? So if an animal can fly, then it is a bat.
That's what I said.
Look at you go. Take a point. Take a. You do not get a point, Raven. You get a point. Did y'all get it right back there? Take a point. Did anybody get it right over here, girls?
He got it right too.
Brett, did you get it right? You can take a point.
Yeah, we both can take a point.
No. No. Raven, I will take off all 5.
Oh my gosh, kicker.
Kicker.
Oh, we're not kicking people.
Oh, she tried to kick me. She kicked me this morning.
All right, so inverse. Who thinks they can do inverse? Sorry, Vanessa.
Never mind.
No, do it. You threw your hand up all confident. Do it.
I said if bats are not
I bet I can do
they
it.
could not fly.
Okay.
Really?
You could also say if an animal is not a bat. Because bats are animals. That's like a universal truth. But not all animals are bats, right? Okay, so
Well, yeah, you get it.
if an animal, I do get it, baby, is not a bat,
Same thing.
then it cannot fly. You can fly, you can fly, you can fly, you can fly.
If they are not bats, they cannot fly.
That works. That's fine.
Alright.
But remember, we need that animal in there. Because it's specifically talking about animals.
I like animals.
I know, baby, but bats are animals. And you see how I had it right here?
They're not animals.
And we talked about the...
Yes, they are.
What do you think they are? Stop.
Bats help people turn into vampires. Duh.
Duh,
Big
man.
live bat turn into a vampire.
You're out of my business.
I watched Twilight all 6, 7, 8.
I don't think they got bit by bats. I don't think...
But it was Batman.
I think that's Batman.
Oh, it was Batman. Okay. Wrong movie.
Stop. Stop. That's minus a point. -1. Circle that -1.
Batman didn't have a fear of bats.
No, he fell into the cave.
Yeah, he got bit by a bat.
He didn't turn into a bat.
No, I didn't say that. Circle -1.
He got obsessed with that.
Circle -1. All right, contrapositive. So let's start with my conditional, okay? For the love of all things good and holy. With my, I will come over there and circle -5. With my conditional, if an animal cannot fly, so that's the first part of the contrapositive. If an animal, bless you, cannot fly, then it is not a bat.
Just not the animal part.
That's okay. Just next time put the animal, okay? Okay. Now, it also asks us to find the truth value. So is our conditional true?
No.
Y'all, bats can fly. Sweet Jesus, bats can fly.
Yeah. Raven.
I mean,
Mine is true.
Well,
I believe your mama.
Because it says, they are true.
So that's true. Okay, so our conditional is true. Now our converse, if an animal can,
You got to put
I did, Lord. If an animal can fly, then it is a bat. Is that a true statement?
No.
I mean, not necessarily.
No, because birds can fly. Bugs can
I
fly.
can fly. Well,
You can fly, you can fly, you can fly.
I believe I can too.
oh,
Alright, inverse. If an animal is not a bat, then it cannot fly.
That's false.
That's false.
Okay? If an animal cannot fly, then it is not a bat.
That's false.
That's false.
That's
Wait,
false.
what?
True.
If it cannot fly, then it's not a bat. That's true. That's true. It cannot, if an animal cannot fly, so this animal cannot fly, it is not a bat.
Oh, false.
Oh, okay.
That's true.
Well,
Now, the conditional and the contrapositive will always have the same truth value, and the converse and the inverse will always have the same truth value. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
All right, now let's look at example 5 so that we can write our conditionals down.
Royals, birds to crabs.
Yes.
like what?
What's she saying?
Birds
and crabs.
And crabs.
Yo, mama.
Can't vote.
I'm not.
Stop.
No.
It's recording. It's recording.
What's that?
All right, here we go. Write the converse, inverse, and contrapositive of the following true statements and determine the truth value. So it says the sum of the measures of two complementary angles is 90. Now, let's not write anything down. I want you to read it and then think of a conditional. Read it and then think of a conditional. Now, who can raise their hand and tell me what they think is a conditional? Ari.
If the sum of two angles, if two angles is 90, then they are complementary.
Yes, and that's a difficult one because you could say it multiple ways, right? Good, take a point. So we're going to use hers. If the sum of the measures of two angles is 90, then they are complementary. What does complementary mean again?
90.
They add up to 90. Okay, now, in your group, I want you to come up with the converse, inverse, contrapositive, go.
I don't have
Very. So, if the sum of the measures of two angles is 90, then they are complementary. Okay? That was our conditional. The converse would be, if two angles are complementary, then the sum of the measures is 90. But I don't have enough room. The sum of the angle is 90. I'm out of room on his paper. Alright, and then the inverse would be, the inverse is adding not. So,
Is that somebody's thinking?
yes, it's Christian's. I didn't mean to pick on him.
That's funny.
What least I'm correcting it. Okay, so inverse would be if the sum of the measure of two angles is not 90, then what? Then they're not complementary. Good, take a point. Okay, then contrapositive would be if two angles are not complementary, then the sum of the angles is not 90. Did anybody get all those right? Hey, take a point for your team. Good job. Thank you. Will you hand this back to Christian? Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do an activity where we have to prove if it's true or not. Get super excited.
Yay!
We need 10 more minutes of excitement and then you can slack off. And then you're going to do some of them on your own. Now the directions say, determine if the following conditional is true or false.
False.
We haven't even started. Provide a counterexample if the statement is false. And then that stuff about Euclidean plane, that's the geometry that we're in. So we're going to decide if it's true or false, and then we have to provide a counterexample. Now we're going to do some of these together, and then 2 and 3, if you do those, that's bonus points towards your test. So I suggest we do 2 and 3. Okay? Alright, number 1, let's look at it. If AM is equal to MB, then M is the midpoint. Who agrees with true?
True.
Who agrees with false? It's true! Dun, 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 dun. Because if two parts are equal to each other, that means that M is in the middle. Now let's look at number 2. Let it go, Bielsa. Stop. He just wants attention. Number 2. If AB equals 2PB, then P is the midpoint. What do we think that means? So if I have, pardon? What did you say? It is true. Because if I have A here and B here, correct? And if I put P right here, and I say that 2 of these put together, would that be this whole thing? It would be. Dun, 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 that's true. Good job, Hunter. Take a point. Alright, number 3. If 2 angles are supplementary, then they are equal. What does supplementary mean?
180.
They add to equal 180. So why is that false? It could be 90 and 90, but it could also be like what? Right. So this is false, and then we have to provide a counterexample. So when you provide a counterexample, just draw me a picture. So I'm going to say that this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D, this angle's 130, this is 50, those are supplementary, boom, I'm done. Does everybody see how we just proved it with a counterexample? Are we sure? Do I need to zoom in?
No.
Are we ready for number 4?
Yeah.
So number 4 says, if a figure is a square, then it is a quadrilateral. Why? A square has 4 sides, a quadrilateral has, boom, we're done with that one. Pardon? You only have to give me an example if it's false. We just wrote an example out for number 2 just so that we could see it. All right, number 5. If a quadrilateral has 4 right angles, then it is a square.
False. Because a quadrilateral would be a rectangle.
And rectangles are not always squares, right? All right, so false. Dun 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 dun. That has 4 right angles. Is that a square? No, it's a rectangle. Number 6. If a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then it is a rectangle.
True.
Which one is it?
It's true that.
True.
If it is a parallelogram, which means that all sides are, or the opposite sides are parallel, right? Then it is a rectangle. So you're telling me that that's a true statement.
Yeah, because rectangle and it could be across from each other.
But it could be a square. It could be a rhombus. So this is false.
I tried to. I said it's true.
He's just saying stuff. Dun dun dun. Number 7. If a in a plane, if 2 lines are perpendicular to the same line, then they are parallel. Perpendicular means they cross at a 90. So if we have 2 of those, come intersect my arm. Now we got to be perpendicular to the same line. So perpendicular. Now, are those parallel? Yeah.
Yes.
So is that true?
Yes.
Look at us go. Why are you so close to me?
I like your baby.
That's not a good thing to say.
Why did you so awkwardly go back to your seat? Okay. All right, now it's true. You can also, without using our arms and chopping me, you can also talk about the slopes. So if 2 lines are perpendicular to one line, what do perpendicular lines have with the slope? Starts with an O. Opposite.
Side. Angles. Lines.
It's 2 words. Opposite. Starts with an R.
Rectangle.
Opposite right angle.
Opposite right?
Perpendicular lines have what kind of slope?
Right.
Boy, that's not it.
Right.
Slope. Slope. Slope is a number. So perpendicular lines have opposite.
Slopes.
What kind?
Down.
Okay, what is it?
I'm so sad for some of you that I taught last year.
I wouldn't get it.
Opposite reciprocals.
Oh.
They have opposite reciprocal slopes. So if both of them, if we have 2 lines, and they are both perpendicular to this line, they both have to, well, we can't really see that. It's like violent. They both have to have opposite reciprocal slopes. So those have to be the same. They have to be the opposite reciprocal to this one. All right, number 8. And I am not telling you the answer to this one. Number 8. If a quadrilateral is a square, then it is a rectangle.
What?
Is it true or false?
Quadrilateral is a square. Then it's
true.
Yeah, because both of them are quite
If
similar.
it's a circle.
But it says if a quadrilateral is a square, then it is a rectangle.
No, because a square is
It's
not
a
a
square.
rectangle.
Did you say a square?
If it's false, give me a counterexample. Prove it. No, prove it on the board. I want you to go up there and write it. If you think it's false, I need you to prove it to me. If you think it's true, I need you to prove it to me.
But you said if it's true, we don't have to do anything.
We are proving it on this one. Prove it to me.
Okay.
Quadrilateral
It's true.
So it's saying a quadrilateral can be a square and a rectangle? I mean, what am I saying? Yeah.
You've never been told that?
Are they though?
They're not always.
Can I go up there and say?
Are all squares rectangles or are all rectangles squares?
Oh,
Square.
You got it.
Ain't a
All
rectangle
squares are rectangles.
Which one is it?
all squares are rectangles.
Is a rectangle a long square?
Yeah, it's just a square that's straight.
Okay, so you're moving on her.
I'm gonna stand up there and straight.
I just want you to prove it to me. Either way, I want you to prove it to me.
Look at number 6. Look at that one.
Look at that one. Well, that says a parallelogram. So parallelogram just says that opposite sides are parallel. So prove it. Prove it.
Stop playing with me.
I just want you to prove it to me.
Can you like help us? Like, I don't get it.
Are you coming up here to prove it to me?
It's true.
Why? Prove it to me.
Because it's true.
Prove it to me. But prove it to me.
Quadrilateral. Yeah, four sides. Four sides.
That does not mean that it's a square or a rectangle.
I mean, if it has four sides, it's quadrilateral.
Is it?
But it says that if a quadrilateral is a square, then it is a rectangle.
It's just the longest
So
square.
what makes it a square?
You just grab one.
What makes it a square?
It's false.
If you put two squares together, you
Think
get a
that's true,
rectangle.
right?
If you think it's true, prove it to me. Tell me.
I know you.
If it's false, prove it to me. If it's false, give me a counterexample.
It's both because a quadrilateral has four sides, so a rectangle has four
So
sides.
that's good. Which one is it?
I can't tell you. I can't tell you. I can't tell you.
I know you got the answer somewhere.
Prove it to me. Alright, if a quadrilateral is a square, so we're saying that it is a square, then it is a rectangle. Is that true?
Yes.
Why?
Because a quadrilateral has four sides and a rectangle has four sides.
That does not.
And a square has four sides.
A rhombus has four sides, and it's not a square.
Is there
Not
a
always.
quadrilateral?
the same size.
But it's a
They don't have the same size. The rectangle has one size.
Prove it to me. What? I don't know what you're talking about. Prove it to you.
Okay.
Prove it to me that it's not right.
A quadrilateral can be, it's true, but a quadrilateral can be square and it can also be a rectangle.
I don't know. Prove it to me.
Gracie, what would you say? I think it's true.
Alright, so think about it tonight. Now, for your test, I want you to write the converse, inverse, and contrapositive for the true problems. For the true problems. Okay? Does everybody understand? This is your bonus. Now, we are going to review our perfect squares. Do not get your cards out.
Oh,
Right.